So basically they're like, when I asked if I could sit on the ball or stand up, they're like, no, well, the baby's heart rate is very, constant, just not varying much, and we like to see it, going up and down a little. And they're like, so I think you should just stay here. And I'm like, well, I basically explained to them, like, the baby's probably sleeping because I've been laying down for like 5 or 6 hours. So the baby's heart rate's gonna be that way. So, the nurse agreed to let me sit on the birthing ball for a little while. And then, right after, getting up and sitting on the birthing ball, I was kind of rocking and doing that for like half an hour. The baby's heart rate was, exactly how they wanted it to be. So the nurse came back in and she's like, oh, it looks good. And the doctor actually came in and she's like, oh, I guess mother knows best. And so everything was fine. The problem with getting up and standing and sitting is that the heart rate belt that was on monitoring the baby's heart rate would constantly move. And sometimes it would fall, like it would, fall off the front and kind of hang down. So it would lose the heart rate for a second. So the nurse would come running in and freaking out. So she kept wanting me to stay in bed, just because that was the most stable position to have the belt on the right place. Which of course I was fighting a little bit in the beginning, but since I wasn't having any pain, I was fine. I would occasionally get up and like stand next to the bed when she'd leave, and I'd try to hold it in place, and sometimes it'd work, and sometimes she'd come in mad. But yeah, so once they got up to 10 units, I think, is when I made the video in the hospital. And even at 10 units, I still wasn't feeling that much pain. Actually, probably none at all, because I was making a video. Then they reached 12, and they maxed at 12. So between 10 and 12 units, the pain was much different. It was still tolerable, and I think somewhere between there, like, they really never checked me. They said unless I was feeling pressure or something down there, they weren't going to check me all the time. They would just keep increasing it, because I kept saying that, I wasn't having any pain, and the nurse was kind of laughing at me, saying, oh, you'll get pain, just wait, So I think she checked me probably around 10 units, but I'm not exactly sure. And she said I was like 3 centimeters. Now every time someone has checked me, it was either a different nurse or the nurse practitioner at my doctor's office, or each time it was somebody different. So it was hard to rely on the measurements that they were giving. Then once they got up to 12 units of Pitocin, I basically started feeling the contractions. They were bearable. I was fine. The only thing is, they were less bearable laying in bed. The pain was just so like focused down low and on my back and everything. I needed to be able to rock, and kind of like rock it out or whatever, like kind of rock my body to deal with the pain that was down there. It kind of made me feel better, like I was making more progress, and it just made the pain a lot better. So in bed, I couldn't really rock much. I was holding onto the side of the bed trying to sway my hips and stuff, but it really wasn't working. And this is when I started really getting angry with the nurse, and my blood pressure started to rise, because they were taking my blood pressure every once in a while. They had the cuff and it would go off. And my blood pressure is always very low. And because I was very stressed out and mad that they weren't letting me do what I wanted, my blood pressure was rising and the pain was getting worse, and I was basically forced to lay in the bed. So one time when the nurse left, I just got up and I sat on my ball and I did my rocking, and things were fine. The baby kind of liked the change in position, but after it was in that position for a while, the heart rate kind of just went back, to constant speed, and they wanted the variability. So the nurse came in and she had the printout of the heart rate, and she's like, look at this, I don't want this, this is not what I want, or something like that. And she was really angry with me, and I was like, well, you can see, I was like, the only reason that it's like that is because I've been in this position for a while, but even laying in the bed it will do the same thing. And I'm like, I kind of have to move to keep the baby awake. And I was like, I've been in this position for the past half an hour or 45 minutes since you left. And I was like, and it only started just doing, you know, going back to a little constant non-variable heart rate. So she's like, well, I don't want this or whatever, you have to lay in bed. And I was like, you know, you can stay in here and watch me, and you'll see the heart rate is, you know, it varies a lot once I change positions, but then in that position for a while, it kind of goes back to constant. And she's like, you're not my only patient, you know, I can't stay in here and watch you. And basically, you know, she was just all attitude-ish and like whatever. And I was like, well, I can't. I'm like, if I'm going to be able to do this without the epidural, I need to be able to move because it's so painful laying in bed. So finally she came to a compromise. She like, I don't know, I laid in bed and she got me this peanut balloon thing that you put between your legs, and it's kind of really large, so it's like kind of like the birthing ball, and it kind of enabled me to rock a little, but still was painful. So a little while after that, I guess she checked me, and I was 6 centimeters dilated. And after that, you know, she kind of gave me a little bit more respect and like was acting a little bit nicer towards me, seeing as you know, I was doing so well. And I believe it's the only reason that I progressed so fast is because I was up and rocking when she told me not to be. But I was using gravity, and I was opening up my hips and pelvis and making the cervix dilate. So she gave me a little bit more respect after she saw 6 centimeters. She's like, wow, you're doing really well, you know, 6 centimeters with Pitocin and no medication. And at that point I was like, you know, when the contractions came, it was tough to concentrate or talk to anybody. I really had to breathe and rock, and got a little frustrated sometimes. But I started getting scared. The pain was bearable at that point, but I was 6 centimeters, I was starting to shake, and I was starting to go into the transition phase. And I knew that this was the phase where it was going to be intense. And I started to get scared about the delivery more so, that it was so close, and that I was supposedly having a 9-pound baby, and without any pain medication. I just didn't know if I was going to be able to handle that. So I decided, I kind of made a quick decision without discussing it with David or anyone. I just said, okay, I want the epidural. And usually they tell you to like ask for the epidural or when you want the epidural, then wait 15 more minutes and see if you still want it. But I decided that at that point, I wasn't totally against getting an epidural. I just wanted to wait long enough so that I was dilated far enough so that the epidural didn't slow dilation. So at 6 centimeters, I felt that it was a pretty good point, and I was going to be able to dilate the rest of the way. And especially after getting the epidural, you know, people are said to relax more, and it's supposed to help you dilate even faster. So yeah, 6 centimeters, I thought, well, let's give it a shot and see what happens, because I've given it, you know, my best up to this point, and I'm kind of like doing what I feel is the right thing. So I got the epidural, and it wasn't painful at all. The initial little shot of local anesthetic that they give you before they put the big shot in with the catheter, it wasn't painful at all. I just had to wait until the contraction, my last contraction, ended, and I wanted to have it right after that contraction ended, because I didn't want the next contraction starting, because there was no way I was going to be able to sit still during the contraction. So once I got the epidural, it took effect pretty fast. They usually give, I think, between 12 and 15, I guess, units. I don't know what measurement that is, but the nurse told me between 12 and 15. Except this anesthesiologist gave me like 16, and I don't know, the nurse said maybe it's because I was tall or whatever, but my legs were so numb. I just felt like a huge gelatinous blob, and I couldn't move my legs. And I didn't like that feeling, but I like the feeling of no pain. But I hated not being able to move my legs, and the heaviness sensation that I had, and just the lack of control. I didn't like that.